That's the ones.
My car, it's because G-Force FIA comes with great. I mean, the price.
They'll be running out of this road.
Okay, NARRC meeting, town hall meeting. What we decided to do, what I decided to do here with Northern New Jersey Region, and all the stuff that we went through was to, we have a regional here. What better place to ask our customers what they want in 2008 than to talk to our customers? Our customers are at races. So that's why we decided to do it here. We have a captive audience, kind of. Right?
And it's convenient for the driver.
Yes. There is a NARRC website. Does everybody know where it is?
Yes.
Good. It's buried in the Northern New Jersey Region website. Right? Should NARRC have their own website? That kind of thing. We're a very big, you got SARC, you got MARRC, you got NARRC. We're a very big deal with road racing in the Northeast.
I think linking it to the Northeast website, which is how I found it, is the best way. And if you can establish a...
But it is linked, I think.
It is, yes.
Oh, but that's good.
But what I'm saying, it is on that site. But if you make it more prominent on that site.
That's what we have to do, because right now, the number you gave me was 17% down.
Yeah.
The entry is 17% down this year. The rent up here went up 15%. We're taking a bath this weekend. Moha back in May, they took a shower and a bath. New England in June and July took a nice bath too.
July wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons that it wasn't so bad, and we can discuss that later, but we had a one-day.
Yeah. It's going to come down to Lime Rock is a one-day event. That's it. Saturday, we're done. It's too expensive.
Not only that, but not too many people have the ability to take Friday off.
Let's do introductions, because I get on the IT website, or whatever they call that. I know a bunch of people go back and forth with a lot of good suggestions. Andy Vancourt, I don't think Andy.
He'll be there.
Andy has been there. A lot of the ITA guys seem to be on it. It's a good group of people with a whole lot of ideas.
A lot of great conversation.
Yeah, and I go on there, and I have actually, I'm Butch O'Connor, I'm from Northern New Jersey region, and
the driver's rep for NARRC. The way NARRC works is there's 8 members that vote. The REs, I'm the RE
of Northern New Jersey.
Right? I got put on this committee. I didn't want to, but I'm the RE. I'm on that committee. Right? Harry is the driver's rep from Mohawk. Serge is the driver's rep from New England. Butch from Northern New Jersey. New York is Dave Lapham, and the regional exec is Chris Morales, who couldn't be here. The regional exec is Doug McCormick for New England. Gene Tripozzi for Mohawk. That's the 8 people who can vote. There's 4 other people. Dave Panas is our secretary, thank God. Christine Mushnick is the treasurer, thank God for her. Marianne Lyons is the points keeper. Maureen Harris retired this year.
After 20-some years of being
Yeah, and Kristen Shepard is the preferred numbers person. Woman doing a great job. So we have 8 people who make the decision for NARRC.
Now, it's been said on the website that we need to get drivers on the NARRC committee. Each region that is part of NARRC has a driver. I'm a driver. This guy's a driver.
Harry.
All right?
Dave Lapham.
Dave Lapham's a driver. Which is not to say that we know everything or know everybody, but I spent a weekend this year up at Nahis because I wanted to talk to some of the drivers about some of the issues up there, because some of the drivers in NARRC don't really come down this way. They only run at New England events up at Nahis. And I want to tell you, in my view, and I've been driving SCCA for 20 years or so. Before that, I did racing since I was 14 years old. I know a lot over that. But we're seeing a change in club racing in the Northeast, unlike anything we've ever encountered. The dynamic here is changing so quickly and so radically that I don't think the drivers are fully apprised of what's going on. And I'm concerned about that. And I've seen it on the website, and I know Andy's trying to explain it to some of the drivers that there's a lot going on, guys. We're spending a lot of money at this particular racetrack has been a particular problem. It costs $54,000 just to rent the track. Doesn't include our insurance or license fees and all the other costs that go into trying to run an event. And the regions themselves are on the hook for that. Whether or not we have a race, we have to pay that money. And people need to understand that. This is, Darrell said it increased 15%. We increased the entry fee 15% for this particular event. But what you don't realize is in the last 4 years, the track rental at this place has doubled. And to be perfectly honest with you, this track is not kept up with the times. We don't have a decent shower. We don't have a place to eat lunch out of the weather. There's a whole lot of issues here. The track isn't in great shape, and it's the shortest track we run on. But it's a racetrack, guys. And if you want to race here, and you want to keep it available to SCCA, we've got to run here. That's your job. Our job as a region, or your job as a region, is to say, well, we can't run here unless we can afford it. We can't afford to lose $20,000 like Mohawk did. They go through more than that the other week. We're probably going to lose $10,000 to $15,000 this week.
Closer to $15,000.
Where does that money come from? And I don't think people understand it. It comes from the dues of the members of that region. It comes from, if we can make a few bucks on another event, our solo program, thank God, is profitable, and that profit is supporting road racing. And it didn't used to be that way. It used to be the other way around. We basically supported solo and made some profit. We see that white truck flying around the track and delivering stuff and so forth. We have equipment, we have radios, we have fire bottles, we have all kinds of stuff that you have to buy and repair and keep up. So the region's now faced with a problem. We have to charge a certain amount of money in order to break even. We probably should have charged more for this event than we did, but we didn't want to charge more than the track rental increase. And the break even on this thing was $235. So
235 cars at $325 is $75,000. For us to do an event, SCCA to do an event here is $75,000 for the weekend. That's it.
So here's the problem you have. If you lose money on an event like this year, Darrell's got to go back to his board and say, okay, guys, we signed a contract for next year. Well, how did we do this year? Well, we lost a lot of money. All right? Well, the board's going to say, well, our treasury's now down to nothing. Can we afford to do that? And the answer to that question, frankly, is no, we can't. And so the regions now are faced with a decision. Are we, Chris Morales, New York region?
Sorry I'm late. I got nailed on 684.
What's she good?
Please.
Okay, but the point of it is, we're now in a crisis situation. What are we going to do next year? Are we going to rent this track, or are we not going to rent this track?
Are we coming back next year?
Yeah, we don't know that. I don't know if Moped's going to come back. I don't know if New England's going to come back. I don't know if New York's going to come back. But I will
New York
tell
has the one event here in October, or September, in our playoffs.
So here's the situation. Now, I know there's been a lot of stuff on the website about the points, and I have to agree with you. The points are way too complicated. I honestly think Maureen threw up her hands because after 20 years she said, this is more work than it's worth. And we need to do something about that. We're aware of that. And tonight we'd like to hear from you guys about the things you hate the worst about the points and suggestions to fix it.
And what we can do in 2008 to get more entries so we don't go out of business and to make it better for us customers. I'm a customer as well. I paid the entry fee today. What can we do to make racing at Lime Rock, at New Hampshire, at Watkins Glen? Hopefully we'll get more events there. Pocono, Thunderbolt, and Lightning is going to happen next year.
Well, we're hoping it's going to
We're
happen.
hoping.
That will change the dynamic, but
Right.
it's not built.
What does
They're
North wanna
still
do?
pushing dirt around. When they've got pavement, when they've got timing tower, I believe it's a track.
Yep.
And I've never lost on that bet.
But what can we do as the NARRC committee, the 8 of us? I mean, we have a bunch of people here that are on this committee. For you drivers, what can we do to make life? I want to race. What can we do to get more people here to race so we don't go out of business? And if we're not racing with NASA or EMRA or something like that. I like racing FCCF, and I've been doing it for 25 years.
Let me talk about the points a little bit, because there's been a lot of complaints about the bonus system, all right? Right now, as you know, you get 4 points, bonus points for the first track, 4 for the second, 12 for the third. It's been called the Pocono bonus, and it is. But it's also a Lime Rock bonus, although most people race here at least once in a year.
And over New Hampshire.
All
I'm
right.
not going to New Hampshire. I live in New Jersey. New Hampshire's
I
a
do.
pain.
I travel in New Hampshire, but it's also a New Hampshire bonus. Why did we do that? Why did the regions do that? Well, if we're going to have a NARRC series, North Atlantic, and it's really an Area 1 series, and that's the Area 1 regions, which is New England, New York, New Jersey, and Mohawk.
No, there's one region.
Mohawk's our cousin.
Actually, it's the regions that race at Lime Rock.
Yeah.
Well, it has been in the past.
The original.
So the purpose was, we said, well, if it's going to be a regional series or a multi-regional series, everybody should go to every track. We should try to encourage that. That was the idea. Apparently, nobody likes it. Okay, and I heard that loud and clear. Well, I can tell you, if we don't get entries at Pocono, that's our northern New Jersey region race. If we don't get entries, we can't run there. It's expensive. It's not as bad as this place anymore, but it's still expensive, and people don't like the track and this and that, and I understand that too. It's been hard to work with them. You don't care about that. You want to go to a place, you want a nice racetrack, you want a place to race, and we want to provide that. But that was the idea behind it. If we're going to do away with it, if it's a terrible thing, and we don't get entries to Pocono, Pocono goes away. If that makes you happy, great, except that what the hell's in our series if we're not racing at a number of different racetracks? It ought to be a multi-track series. If it's only going to be 1 or 2 tracks, then what's the point of having it at all? All right, so that was the reason. I wanted you to know why it happened. It happened last year. A hell of a lot of complaints about it. I listened to them, and I think everybody has. Mm-hmm. And we certainly are going to try to do something about that. But
Points, my idea of points is keeping it simple. That's what we want. I've heard everything from great points, no big deal, to adding, you have 20 cars in a race, in your class. The winner gets 20 plus 20. Second place gets whatever plus 19, so on and so on. It's weighted according to the number of cars.
there are a lot of different ways of doing the points. I've heard complaints about the points too. But I don't think we're going to resolve everything tonight. I respect that, but we need to get some ideas from you people.
Yeah.
I have a couple ideas if you're looking for them.
Please say your name so we can.
Log it in.
I'm no one, I'm just a racer, but
No,
I'm
we
just
know
having to
Yeah,
go
you are.
every
You are.
yeah.
Did you pay entry fee this weekend?
No, my wife paid.
I want to thank Lori, and I want to thank you for all the stuff you did at Pocono and everything else, all the help you gave us.
Thank
And
you.
your name is?
Tommy Sheehan.
Don't be too short.
Tommy Sheehan Sanborn. Thank you. And go ahead.
You have the name, don't worry.
I'm not that bright of a guy, so I don't have all the answers. But I think you've got 2 different issues that obviously wrap into one. You have a points or reward system that you're trying to make it fair and equitable, that someone can go race and have fun and be rewarded. And then you have a track issue. And I think as a racer, globally, I'm tired of running 2 tracks. I hate this place. God, I don't like this place. Just don't like it. So, to me, to try and keep me racing with SCCA, because we're now at that cusp of saying, why essentially, why come to this track 5 times a year, be insulted, overpaid, get no track time, and if I couldn't go to one race, I'm essentially at some level eliminated from winning the championship. That's your disparity. So, the flip side of that is I don't mind the travel. Personally, for me, I would like to see us go to 5 tracks, or whatever the number is. NHIS, I hate coming here, but if you have to come here once or twice, Pocono, the Glen? Why can't we go to Mont Tremblant? Why can't we go to Summit Point? Why can't we go to Nelson Ledges? Why can't we make 5 or 6 or 7 races, two races at each track? And if you hit every single race, you get a bonus. We'll give you 2 opportunities to go to each track. And for those who have the capability, that there's not a death in the family or whatever, you have that second opportunity to hit the track. To me, that kind of solves 2 different issues. That you have more than one opportunity for bonus points. And it kind of gets us out of this line lock rut that we seem to be stuck in. And I understand that some people, don't want to drive. Some people live close to this track, but they are treating us as a club horrible.
Oh, yeah. Right.
And I don't want to go off on them, because I'm sure we can all complain about line lock. We can all complain about NHIS, but I look at what does it keep me want to continue to race in SCCA? I own a Porsche. I go to a Porsche car club race. There's only 4 groups. It's now essentially the same kind of money, like 4.5 hours of track time a weekend, not 45 minutes.
Well, this is a great point. And does anybody in the room that I haven't already talked to have an idea of how many classes we have this weekend?
Too many.
How many? Does anybody have a number?
52, I'm guessing.
Who said that?
I did.
52?
I'm guessing, that's pretty close.
No, that's
Anybody
total.
else? Anybody else? Hazard a
I
guess?
said 30.
32? Anybody else?
I'll give up 50.
37, 51. I actually counted them 54. It's kind of interesting because that's exactly the same. We paid $54,000 and we got 54 classes. But this is a point.
SCCA mandates a class for every class, a class for every car. How do you change that?
They don't mandate it. That's what's very interesting. They do for nationals, but not for regionals. All right, now listen.
Can I say something?
Kathy wants to speak. We all should up.
Kathy Barnes.
She did raise her
Guys,
hand.
you're never going to meet my brothers, okay? Because I never get to talk around them. We are not required to run every class. And maybe one of the things that might want to be considered for the future is that if a class over a period of a certain number of years fails to meet a certain minimum, it's not a, whatever the series is, points class anyway. And we don't have to run it. It's really aggravating as an organizer to sit down and have to put together a race schedule
Buy trophies.
and buy trophies. I don't buy trophies, and that's probably a good thing. But it's really difficult to sit down and organize events and say, we have to run these guys, and we have to run these guys, and we have to run these guys. We can't run these with these because they'll run all over each other, and these guys don't want to run with these guys, or these guys, but there's not enough of them to make it a valuable event. And for the drivers, I would guess that having cars to race against makes it a better experience. I know that for the workers, not watching a parade of a few cars is a much better day if you've got a lot of cars out there to work with when you're racing. So remember, we do not need to run every single class.
Right, and in that case, we would
Now,
probably
this
eliminate.
is the point I wanted to go to.
Or bring your friends with you.
Now, here's the thing. At a track like, and this is the problem with line run, because we're so confined on the time we can run. We could start the race at 10 o'clock. All right? We're wasting daylight. If we had fewer race groups, run groups, we could have a lot more track time. Porsche Club does the work. I'm very familiar with their operation, and you get a lot of track time. Some of the vintage clubs do the same thing. We have traditionally ran 9 race groups today. All right? Well, in addition to the time to spend on a track, in case you didn't notice it, there's time, checker, everybody does a lap, you come in, the wreckers go out, they pick people up, there's some downtime, time the scoring has to catch up and so forth. I want to tell you, this is an election break, but today, I don't know if you noticed today, I did, because I'm working the grid today. My race car's broken. I'm sure you all know about that. We actually had cars coming in off the track and were lining them up on the grid and getting them out there. Now, what that does is cut that wasted time. Because we pay 8 hours of track time today.
10 till 6 tonight?
I'm
Right.
group 5. When
And
group 4 came in, we got to 3, and it was wonderful.
Isn't that good? And you know, that's something we can do to help if everybody cooperates. Obviously, if everybody's bumping everybody off the track and there's cars wrecked all over the place, it's going to take a while to clean them up. Clean racing, another issue. But again, getting back. It's been suggested by, I think, Andy, that huh?
That's Andy right there.
Yes, I'm sorry.
You're Andy.
Yeah, he did. And
He
he's,
got all those good ideas.
I've been paying a lot
Keyboard a
of,
minute ago, wasn't
I've
it?
been paying attention to the IT thing that you guys have when I listen to it. One of the suggestions was, well, how about we just reduce the number of classes? In other words, take the 12 best supported classes, say this weekend, you look at the entry. You know, ITA had a bunch of cars, you know, we had a bunch of cars, a bunch of Formula Ds, we had a bunch of spec racers, whatever. Because that's what NASA's doing, all right? They're making money on their events. You know how they're doing it? They're only inviting the spec Miatas. They're only inviting the IT guys. They're not inviting this incredible alphabet soup of all kinds of crazy classes. We've never done that, all right? And I don't know that we should, but I'm saying this is a suggestion. I don't say it's Andy's suggestion, but it's one of the...
Definitely not my suggestion.
Okay, but it was a suggestion made in that colloquy that you had, I think, started or at least participated in. And it's not a bad idea. I mean, in a sense, you say, okay, we'll take the 12 classes that show up with the most cars. Now, if ITC only showed up with 2 cars, but they could fit into ITA or ITB or something like that, you could put them in and like that. So you'd have more than 12 classes. But the idea would be to try to build 6 race groups, no more, and run here. Now, what does that idea sound like to you guys?
I don't think it's possible.
Greg Koch with the NARRC report. Those of us that are on like Apex Speed, which is one of the Formula Ford or Formula open wheel classes, they tried something similar to what you're proposing down at Summit Point. There was a meeting, and basically I think they were looking at kind of removing Continental and some of the other classes and Atlantic, and it caused a huge hue and cry. I think it got to the point where the national office had to resolve it, and there was something in the GCR that said that they could not do that sort of thing. They were going to use the idea of a restricted regional to basically do similar to what you're proposing. Mm-hmm. So while I don't disagree with you in theory, from a practical point of view, you may wind up having a lot of obstacles and possibly bad press.
I'm going to admit this, and then you guys can all throw rocks at me when I leave, but I'm a lawyer, and I actually have read GCR. And in point of fact, all we run here are restricted regionals, okay?
Because we had
Okay, but so we're already running restricted regionals. And it seems to me it's up to the regions to decide what they're going to do and restrict it anyway. Well, like, for example, if we're running an enduro, we need a sanction number for that. Typically, we don't invite everybody. You might not have 4 minute cars because they don't have headlights if it's a nighttime regional, nighttime enduro. But we can do it. And it may cause a tremendous problem or a hue and cry.
I'm just suggesting that basically when that issue came out of the Summit Point, I mean, there was a lot of people very, very upset. And
I bet there
whoever was the race chair.
Who were those guys?
Well, I think, to be honest with you, there was some sense from the Formula community that it was put forward by the sedan classes to try to bump them out of getting track time. They wanted more track time because they felt like they were supporting the
they're bringing more cars, so they're getting more entries.
Right.
So why should their track time be cut? Because the other class has 3 cars or 4 cars.
Okay,
well, the point is
but
that...
why is that a bad answer? Why is that a bad position?
Because we're supposed to be, as much as it pains me to say this, we're supposed to be an inclusive club, which, God help us, we have all of these freaking cars that are out there, and we keep adding classes on a weekly basis. But as long as the national office deems that as appropriate, well, then you have to deal with it.
They don't direct it. I mean, for nationals, they do.
Well, the perception, however you want to view it, is still nonetheless the same. If I have a car and it's in the GCR that you can race it, then people have an expectation of being able to go to a track at a regional level at least and race.
Right. But they can't do it internationally.
And what they've done down in Summit is they've written in their subs, and they've changed the race groups, the length of the races. I think they run 25 races on some of the races, 25 lap races. But they also say if they have less than 16 cars in a race group, the number of laps will be equal to the number
It's
of cars.
16 lap
Jack's
races.
absolutely, yeah, Jack's right.
16 lap races, and they will
Right.
reduce, if they have 15 cars, they run 15 laps.
Right.
And that puts the onus on the drivers to bring their friends to the race with them.
Okay, what about that, guys? Is that a viable thing, Sam?
But does that solve our problem?
No, wait.
Well, I'll get to that in a second. Hey, Mr. Holder, why do you have to reduce the number of classes to reduce the number of race groups?
Well, that's a good question, Sam. The reason is that an awful lot of these classes can't run together.
But there's nobody in them, and there's one or two cars in them. Anyway,
If you look at
I mean,
time,
if you took your total number of cars that you had here this weekend and divided it into 6 race groups, reasonable, I mean,
By time.
speeds and
Yeah,
well, not just by time, but by
By
time cars and all that.
By
You
weight.
still have,
Weight of
because you watched the race today, there was 4 cars totaling around, wasting a half an hour worth of track time.
But Sam, believe me, we've tried this,
No,
and it doesn't work.
Oh, okay. I don't know. That's why.
And it is a great. I know what you're saying, but we can't run. I mean, I know there's a spec racing driver here. Is there a production driver here by any chance?
Oh, please.
Okay.
I mean, it sounds crazy to not invite
Okay,
people.
how many times have I heard complaints about production guys and spec racer guys running the same race group? And they're both closed wheel, they're both, you know what I'm saying, moderately the same.
But if there's only 3 of each, the chance of them hitting each other is pretty slim.
Well, today there was only 6 prod cars out there with spec racers.
Say,
Where else were we going to put them? What we did today was we said ITA's got a big field.
Right.
Let's give them their own class.
Right. Maybe the
We
thing to
made
do
this
is to be
decision
able
back 3 months ago.
to change classes on the fly when
Yeah,
you
but
get
we're gonna
groups
do that.
that aren't.
Well, it's
All right,
been
well,
done in the
I don't
past.
see how I don't see why you couldn't take all the cars you have
Group one
here
and
this
1A all of a
weekend and put them
sudden
into 6 races.
Well, we can't do it. We've tried it. But let me get back just one more second.
Back when Mohawk was running their race, I was on the phone to SSCA National
Right.
and talking to, I forget, one of the guys out there, and they said, look, you guys are going to have to think this through. You guys got to follow them up there. But the bottom line, they said to us, look, guys, one race weekend, you guys run 5-6 classes. Another race weekend, you run the other 5-6 classes. Because what is the problem? One is it the entry fee cost? You're going to have to deal with Lime Rock and their problems. And the way the track is and the price, you're going to have to deal with it if you want to come here. That's a given. You got other options to run other tracks. But if the problem is high entry fees, I don't know. You guys tell us that. Is the problem not enough track time? I think, yeah, maybe that could be part of the problem. Because entry fee of $300, $400, $500. If you get an X amount of dollars or hours on the track, National's saying we got to think outside the box and let's run what you're saying. Those 5-6 popular classes
necessarily what I'm
as
saying.
North Jersey, or as an idea, North Jersey region, New England region, their next regional. Here they run the 5-6 other classes and give everybody more value because. You're only next year at Lime Rock. We're only going to be able to run 4 or 5 weekends.
No, we have 4 weekends.
4
More.
weekends.
We're cut another
Well,
weekend
I
out.
think that-
We'll have 4. We may not even have 4, depending on how the planning is running. Andy,
That was a similar idea I was thinking because, I mean, if you take a core of maybe it's 4 classes or 6 classes, fit them in, and then you've got divide up the others into 2 different groups. In the first race you run core plus group A, in the second race you run core plus group B, and then you watch as the years go on, you watch the core or the group A and group B grow, and they can be included into the core. Core could, stuff
it
can
wasn't
leave
too
the core.
long ago. We didn't have a lot of cars today.
We have too many races right
and
now.
now
that's
all
one
of a
the
sudden we
problems.
have a lot of cars today, a lot of different cars. I was very impressed with IPA. There's just a ton of different makes and a whole bunch of very competitive. In the HIS race, I saw, I guess it was Big Rose. Fabulous weekend.
Yeah,
I know you broke. That wasn't great for you, but it was a great race. It was fantastic.
You're going to have Summit Point for their Labor Day Regional. You see cars you do not see here. It's I don't know how to explain it, but you go down in the hills, you see different Toyotas, you see different cars. I can't explain all of them, but
Yeah.
I don't understand. And you come up here and there's a lot of Acuras, you see a lot of Ford Escorts and ITC. You used to have a big ITC. You go down there, they got a ton of ITC cars.
They have 15 ITC cars down there.
Same thing as the Glasses.
Yeah, and I think.
Here we have what, 3? I'm not sure if we have
Well,
ITC
He
cars.
just had more than that.
Are we all?
Wait, one at a time.
I may have missed something, but I thought when we started this conversation, we were kind of keyed on the revenues that are flowing in and the revenues.
Yes, but it's a related
Well, I
problem.
didn't finish my comment.
Yeah.
All right? Now, we're going to address how we're going to get more money into the regions. Don't we have to look at attendance? We're talking about cutting attendance back. cutting
No.
it down by eliminating people.
Well, the theory is, and that's a good point, and I guess I didn't get to that, but
It is,
the
because
idea
we're
that,
jumping all over the place.
no, second, the B part of that was, if you're getting more track time for these particular race groups, and it's a better event for those race groups will bring more cars, so that the overall attendance will go up. That was the B to the A. And I
Now,
didn't
and
get
the
that.
C to that is classification. There are a lot of people who don't show up at these events anymore because they feel, rightfully so, that they're misclassed.
Yeah.
Such
Yeah,
as,
but we ran with NARRC Club Ford, ran with Formula V. A lot of V drivers didn't show up because they were classed.
Is that misgrouped?
Misgrouped.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
you
know,
know,
misgrouped.
it's misgrouped.
Yeah, well, I want to get back to, one of the things I'm hearing is they're saying, what you're talking about was that there's too many race groups. Again, if the time on the track is too low for what you're paying for. But when you do cut back to 6 weeks and have 30 cars, well, to break even at 70,000 today is still at 88,000. You know, you put 38 cars in the group, that's still 370,000. So you're saying that the revenues to pony up that kind of, that's the realization.
Yeah, well, the problem is, though, and actually Harry's absolutely correct, but that means we broke even, all right, with those cars. And the difference is, if we don't break even, we're losing 5 figures, we can't race here, so we won't even have a race. So we want to keep racing. Maybe this is something we have to look at. I don't know that, but that's, if we did that and we had a full field, we got people in there, and people got track time, they're saying, it's a lot more money, but I'm getting, 50% more track time or 40% more track time, so it's worth it. That's fine. The concern I think we have, all of us, is that I'm paying a lot more money, but I'm getting less time every damn time I go to the track. Don't you feel that way?
Absolutely.
Oh, sure.
Well, the thing is, if you cut the groups back and you charge more for more, I'd be willing to pay more for more seat time. Absolutely.
I think most people would.
I think
But
most
we're
people
saying,
would. But how long?
with Harry's analysis, it would be the same price for more.
It'd be close.
It would be more reasonable.
It would be. How long can you float that before that catches on and people are showing up?
This year.
New England can't.
This year.
New England will not.
That's the point. It's a
We
great
can't
idea, and I'm all
afford
for
it.
it.
Nobody can't afford it.
But if the word doesn't get out and they don't come out immediately, you're in a big problem.
Well,
Yes.
I want to comment on something. The reason ITA is as popular as it is around here is
Yeah.
a big part to this guy right here.
Absolutely.
And I have to give him a lot of credit because his voice on the websites and part of, no clapping. But it's a huge, I'm a production car racer and I've watched the numbers deteriorate. I've been around it my whole life because of my father's involvement as a participant over the last few years. And it's disgusting to me to see the numbers drop. I, like Andy, have the same view that I want to promote and bolster my class numbers. He's way ahead of the curve right now because he's dealing with a younger population who are driving more popular cars or more modern cars and that sort of thing. Our cars are there. We're sitting in barns right now for reasons, who knows? People may have just lost interest, race group pairing, that sort of thing. And
Right here,
it's
like
going to
your
take,
dad.
take guys like myself to follow similarly to what Andy's doing to bolster those numbers, okay? And it's work like his that will help with what you were just asking about how long it will take. It takes all of us to talk to our friends. Dick, I guess you put together a nice Formula V project today, and you've got good numbers for it, right? That's what it's going to take for this all to work. We can cut back to classes or groups and bolster numbers.
But it's gotta
We
be-
all have to do it.
It would
It's
all-
not going to do itself just because the fees have changed.
Thank you. I think you're absolutely correct.
Isn't there one
And I second that motion on Andy for president. He really has done an excellent job. As this fellow right here with his Z4. There's a whole bunch of guys that are really, they communicate on the web, they challenge each other, they say, how come you're not coming out? Oh, you got to come out. You've seen it. I mean, you know what's
I
going
read it
on.
all the time.
But all the classes have to do that.
Yeah, but a couple things. My name's Rob Bro. I'm Doc Bro on the forums. I drive an IPA car. One counterpoint to what you said. We're all here because we want to be here. It's not because of his work. None of us like him. He's the one target.
Well, you know what? Hey, it's a good target to have.
You know, the other thing that I see though is one thing that we're missing a little. IT kind of skews things because this is it for us. We don't have a national option, and so our numbers are always going to be here. And honestly, I mean, I'm selfish, admittedly, but when we come to a regional, as a regional only class, I kind of expect that maybe we can get catered to a little bit because this is it for us. So, and I know that's probably a pretty polarizing statement, and I don't mean to offend, but this is it for us. We've got no nationals, we've got no so, and which is why the NARRC also, to tie that into points later on in future dialogue, that's why the NARRC is important to us too, because we
Has their champions.
that's it. That's all we've got.
Well, it's interesting. I've been doing a lot of analysis on numbers over the last 3 or 4 months in participation, particularly in IT. I've been comparing it because I need a big analysis to IT and to all the other classes that are on the open wheel everything. And what's really interesting to me is that, obviously we have a national option out there with the runoffs. And the way things are going today, there's a lot of guys who aren't going to go to runoffs anymore because they don't like that track. Which means those are guys that might be interested in coming back to the regional level. And I've talked to several guys already, and they've already commented, hey, we might be interested in doing that.
But
that's all good for us.
But you're only paying 20% more for a national.
True.
You're paying for regional, and you're getting twice the track time.
I realize
All
that.
right?
But I'm talking about
So if
the
I'm an
series and
IT
all.
guy, I've been an IT guy for years, and if I could race my car at a national and get that kind of track time, I'd do that.
Oh, yeah.
I would. Even if I'm slow, I would do that because you get the track. That's how you develop.
Okay.
I think you're going to see a resurgence in production.
What's the difference, just out of curiosity, operationally between a national and a regional? Why could we not have a similar circumstance as far as the guaranteed amount of time? What changes the dynamic between one and the
Good
other?
question, and the answer is sort of what we've been talking about. There's fewer classes. All right, so we can run smaller race groups, and we have to run a national here. It has to be a 2-day deal, like this regional this weekend, but this may be the last of the dying breed. And we have to give them, correct me somebody, Dave.
45.
We have to give 20 minutes practice, 25 minutes qualifying, and 30 lap race. 45 minutes.
45 minutes practicing qualifying a race of approximately 50 miles.
Okay. All right. So,
That's national.
Yeah.
what is the stumbling block? I know we have a lot more classes and things like that, but really, what is the stumbling block to effectively managing the same affair at a regional level? I mean, is it just that?
Also the number of cars you can put on the track. You can only put 38 cars on the track at a time.
Here. But that's the same national regional.
Well, no, but think about that. If we could put more cars on the track, we could have a lot bigger field.
Like Pocono or Watkins, they could put a lot.
Okay, so that's based on GCR numbers, correct?
Yeah.
And is that immutable? Is that something that you cannot petition at the regional level to
We can open
change?
42 cars on this track, and that's it.
With a waiver.
With a waiver.
You got track distance, you can only put so many cars per mile.
Well, I'm familiar with the formula, yeah.
There's a rule of 25 cars per mile of track. That's in the UCR.
Right.
The only person who can change that in upward direction, or downward for that matter, is the executive steward.
And that's Jack Hamilton, right?
Right. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. At a regional level, you have the ability to change that within the subs, right?
You don't want to tell people that.
So what I'm trying to do is listen here, and I'm hearing that people generally, they conclude that combining groups is a good thing.
Depends on what group you're in.
Yeah, I know that's.
I'd like to see all open wheel cars run the same group, but the Formula V guys don't want to run with Atlantic, and I can understand why.
Yeah, I mean, because it's no fun for them. I mean, it really
We
is.
had
You lose 2 laps, right? We had 3 laps, you lose.
A couple weeks ago, we had a national here, and I'll tell you, this was something, I'd never seen this happen before, although I thought it was a great idea. They had 2 very fast cars in a group, I think it was
Sports racers.
and they were racing with the Spectator Force, and they were going to lap the field at least twice. And what happened was, there was agreement by these 2 guys that they would both get black flagged so many laps before the end, as long as they weren't racing for position, and it turned out one of the guys just blew the other guy away. And that was the deal going in. They got both of them got black flags, so their race ended. All right, and then the Spec Racer Force were able to have a full race. Now,
But
I'd never seen that before. It was a really fantastic thing. I congratulate the stewards for doing it, and stewards obviously had to talk to these guys.
Well, as far as production, really well, except for the one full course yellow. That's what the deal.
In the meantime, that full course yellow, and honestly, the base car got put out in front of the wrong car. And that's what I was the chief steward for that thing. And that's what screwed up that race.
But it was a great idea.
Butch, let me just jump in. I don't
Yeah,
think
Chris Morales, New York region.
I don't think this is such a bad idea. Think outside the box a little bit. If we combine classes and everyone's worried about being lapped 2 or 3 times, and they're getting beat out of 2 or 3 laps, let those winners that are overtaking, let them go 2 or 3 more, and we give the minimum. Because those 2 or 3 more are now in our time slot.
Could this good start finish checker individual classes? I mean, would
No. It's a thought because those guys are going faster. We still have the 20 minutes, the 50 minutes allotted. So let's not take the 15 and go to 12.
Always run on time.
And I know.
But I mean, those guys are laughing.
Question.
Yeah.
Why couldn't we do like the pros did and have a 2-hour race, but a 45-minute race or a 30-minute race or whatever, and the number of laps you get in that amount of time, that's the number of laps you get in.
Watkins Glen.
Rather than having the race end,
The last race of the year, Watkins Glen is that.
rather than having the race end when the lead car
Yeah, but
goes
that guy
15 laps.
go your minimum.
Why not have a time break?
We can do that.
And then if we have a black flag or yellow, what do you call it, full course yellow?
This is why we're doing this. This is
I like that.
Well, I
This is
mean,
a good idea.
with the formula cars, it seems like the V's are right now the issue at hand as far as mixing of the groups. I mean, right now you can mix wings and things and Formula Fords and stuff, and we tend to coexist pretty well. It's when the V's get into the mix. Right. So, I mean, in some instance, could you maybe start them earlier? In other words, if you had a 30-minute race, could you let them take a... Well, I mean, if you had a grid that was A and B and you sent them out first, kick them the green, they did 4 laps under green at which... I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to be goofy here, but I'm just trying...
Greg, it's still a question in a lot of cases of closing speed, speed differential.
Yeah.
It isn't.
Okay.
And a few years ago, bear with me for half a second. A few years ago, we sort of collectively as the Northeast, or here at least, ran Formula V and Formula 500 together. And personally, I saw that as an affront to the V guys. After being the next V driver, maybe those guys are getting screwed out of 2 laps on our national race and 1 on a regional. I looked at the lap times of the 500s and the 4s, and they're very, very close lap records. I realize that everybody, those 2 classes, get there different. They don't do it the same way. But, given the opportunity, we did a split start for a couple years, and frankly, without a very big Formula 500 field, but nevertheless, did a split start. Everything went fine until about lap 3, until something happened in one of the 2 classes, and we had the full course yellow, and everybody got together again.
Understood. Okay.
So, you try, sometimes it doesn't work. Had everything gone really neatly and a couple of weeks ago, wouldn't have been a controversy. But that's part of racing.
Well, what's the speed differential between these and Continental or these and Atlantics?
About 70 miles an hour.
What's the time differential? Because I'm
10 seconds
out
a
there.
lap.
10 seconds a lap.
It's coming down the hill and there's a speed. It's dangerous.
But I'm out there with a speed with a time difference that's dramatically higher than yours, and I can get the job done.
Well, I know, but
I'm
here's
with
a
50 or 60%.
This is the difference. That's a good
Be a
point.
better driver.
Closed wheel, open wheel. All right. Now, I've raced open wheel and I've raced closed wheel. You don't want closing speeds in open wheel cars that they're that differential because just a touch, just a split second of misjudgment, and somebody is flying. And
I can truly appreciate
you
that.
can bump a guy and maybe he'll spin out or something, but when you got open wheels, people are in the air, they're going upside down. It's a real scary deal.
I have no idea if this is a good question or not. It's statement. In order to increase subscription, which is what we're doing, we have two avenues here. You need more revenue, want smaller classes. Try to work out. How groups. But this may be better. Neighboring organizations that award points to themselves, can you invite and do a points awardment and coexist with other sanctions to bring in other drivers who don't
We've
run this?
invited, I know New England's done this, they've invited BMW Club to come in and, as a race group to boost up entries. Porsche Club, we've done that.
Can we commingle that?
Well,
We have licensing requirements and stuff like that.
Yeah, typically we've added a whole race group, and that's kind of defeating our purpose.
No.
But if you
Further
can mix them
populate
in,
the existing ones.
With DC, you can bring them, will they come up?
Well, that's just it. It comes down to promotion, advertising, and letting everybody know about it.
I know right now BMW Club is they're really struggling too because they only have 2 races in the Northeast right now.
I know.
And they're looking for as much track time as possible. And they pay big bucks.
I think that's a great idea, and I'll tell you something else. I mean, I know some people at the Porsche Club, and they offered a date to me. The head competition Northern New Jersey region said, "We got an April date. Why not? We don't want it. We can't do it. Nobody's going to show up. We can't afford to spend $50-something thousand."
Because they're charging $600 for whatever.
I know they charge a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a sound issue in Porsche Club.
Yeah.
No one makes sound. No one makes sound.
No.
Here. No one makes sound here.
That's what happens. If you do that, so I could invite them to another play.
This man had a good thought.
I know he did. Very good thought. Actually.
I just happened to be thinking about, supposing if anybody that's familiar with kind of a story, and I'm not that familiar with it, but
She is.
what's a scenario? Okay, if we were all to be given, if there were X amount of classes and X amount of race groups, 7, 8, 9, all allowed 30 to 40, whatever minutes, however divided up nice and tidy, right? Is there a scenario where one of our 2, and maybe more of those groups could be affected to the point where they would only get a half a race because of what happened to the rent a few weeks ago when I was up here with the Lotus? I mean, that was a long, involved deal, getting the car sorted. I mean, you know what I mean? A lot of time was eaten up while nothing was going on in terms of competition on the track. The following race group, would they be penalized in the situation? Will this be a proposal?
No, I don't think so because
X number of minutes that you're
That already allotted.
running, you're allotted. That's
However
it.
you use it.
However you use it, use it.
Because there were only 6 laps into that race.
If you use it the
yeah,
whole
if you had a
time
full
on
Porsche
yellow,
yellow and they're going around and the pace car's going around, time is running. Everybody's
So even if it were to happen toward the end,
I've seen races where people got one race lap.
That happens in Watkins Glen all the
6
time.
laps. I'm talking about a couple weeks ago, it was 6 laps.
Right.
We've had it where there's only been 1 lap of race because the crash was early, and they took out the tire wall, they had to keep the pace car out, and their time ran up, they had to throw the checker.
okay, now what happens if it happens at the end of the race? Say the last lap.
If
About
you're
2
on,
minutes left on the clock.
if you're on edge system where everybody had 20 minutes per se,
Right.
and it goes over into the next thing,
That's what I'm after.
that's happened down at the Glen where they run that type of racing,
Right.
where the last race group ended up getting, losing half their race.
That's my question.
we used to have that
So-
happen here a lot.
Yeah.
6 o'clock curfew.
6 o'clock.
That's a chance we would all have to take. And sometimes we'd be the bugs, and sometimes we'd be the window. You know, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we're all willing to do that. I think pursuing this man's suggestion.
Well, but I think again, if you hit the magic number, you checker the race. It's over. If you're under the pace car, it's over.
But it's the cleanup that follows, I think.
The cleanup could kill you.
That's what I'm getting.
That's
We
what
all have to realize the risk that we might get really
And
bad
that's
on
the
this
type of
deal.
thing that you can't control.
So nobody would have any confidence. "Gee, let's just pay 350
But it
bucks,
would
man."
be the same whether we're doing it by laps or whatever.
Yeah.
Andy, a couple questions. How much does historic pay the region to do that?
I'm sorry?
Same as you did.
It's an entry fee.
So so they're going to commit a certain amount of members and we're going to have a race.
They have 25 cars.
Yeah, there's one race we can do away with real quick.
Well, they have 25 cars that pay $325 each to come.
And they fill it every time? That's a good size.
25.
No, they don't every time, but most of the time.
Yeah.
yeah.
25 for that group is a low entry.
Okay, so that's a problem.
Which group?
Usually at
That's a pretty solid group.
That's why
group here.
we're looking at money, Andy.
And
that's
And it's interesting though, but getting back to that, part of the reason that things started however many years ago it started
1997.
was to get the production cars out of the garage.
Because they're not competitive, give them a place to race. So they come out and pay the entry fee, and a lot of times they
I mean,
do
and now they're
There's
doing
one part to that question. This one of the things I see that's really skewing this whole topic is that Lime Rock may just not be a viable place for us to race. I love it here, but let me tell you something. It's killing us all.
I know.
If we create a series and ideas around this place that's unreasonable in terms of dollars, I think that
you guys have vetted this.
we've seen where the magic number is in terms of dollars for a regional racer. And it's it's $300.
I know.
Yeah.
And for me, I see that as short-sighted because I look at my race program for the year and I say, what's an extra $50 on one weekend, whatever. But these people are not coming out because the entry fees are too high.
It's a perception, Andy. It's not.
Oh no, it's reality
No,
for guys like Stephen and Raymond Bleffen, who are longtime guys who I've raced with for a long time, but they stopped coming to Lime Rock because they have hit their ceiling. And it's their personal ceiling. I don't find it reasonable for them to think like that.
This weekend, they're out of Middle High.
They're at Middle High.
But they picked the race they wanted to go to this year.
Right.
More power to them. It's great.
Right. But
So,
what I'm saying is that the dollars that it costs to run here are limiting the amount of entry.
Your point.
And this may not be the venue to design a whole program
It's the
around.
dollars that we get charged. It's the amount of time we actually have to use the track. It's the fact that if you try to stay anywhere in this area in a hotel or a motel or a bed and breakfast, you're paying well over $100.
Andy said it when I walked in. 4 races here next year, still too many.
Too many.
Make it 2 and everybody will come because
Make it
it's
2 and then do 2 Poconos, 2 Watkins Glen, do 2 Summit Point.
You can't do that. Pocono, they give us 1 weekend.
That's it.
Then,
We don't
All right,
have
that's Thunderbolt.
there's plenty of places
No,
to go.
Thunderbolt Lightning will happen next year, I
Yeah.
pray, and we're going there.
There's plenty of places to go.
This is a long-term idea that I think could solve a lot of these problems. It's not short-term. One, there's many problems here, each very technical, this, that, the other. But one, SCCA, we're in trouble as membership. We have low members. We have zero visibility in today's world. When I'm 52 years old. I was coming here at age 17. I drove up in a sports car with a helmet on from New Jersey, and I sat on a hill with 18,000 people watching Trans Am. When I raced here in 78 to 81 in Nationals, and no lie, there was 7,000 people on that hill. Today, you don't see anybody except for 50 or 100 walking fans and the crew members going on the hill. Yeah. This is just an idea. I've been working on this for a couple of years with a friend named Larry Taluti. We're not going to get Larry's out of the picture.
Champagne racing.
We're not going to get lower entry fees from launch. They're going to hold still on their end. But backing up a little bit, Lime Rock wants to see us here. Skip Barber wants to see us here. Management, trust me, they want in their heart they want to see us here. I was originally going to be one of the originals with Skip Barber. I know where his heart is.
How can you say that though? Does it really cost them this much?
I know for a fact. I know how much. If I was an owner, how much I would be paying out those years. 40, 50, 60,000 out of my pocket just to keep this place going. We were losing 220, 40,000 a year to run this. Only in the last 2 years did it break even. And I'm out of line to tell you that, but I know for a fact. Okay? Forget that. I'm an SCCA member. Yeah, I own that store, but I've been an SCCA member since 71. I work, I race, and now I'm the secretary of North Jersey Region. So I've done all 3 things, and I see everything. Just like you, I'm a businessman. I have to survive to make a living, and I have to survive off of SCCA. But anyway, this is just an idea. We're 4 regions in the Northeast. We get, years ago when I raced, I had a sponsor. I didn't get paid, but I literally got $3,000, $4,000 a year out of a sponsor back then. And back then I was 78 to 81, I was paying out of pocket $15,000 a year to race. Whatever that money is today, I don't know, but it was a decent amount of money back then. Okay? But I did have a sponsor. Right now, you guys can go out and look for sponsors. People are going to laugh at you because there's no value in sponsoring SCCA. How do we change that? What we can do is get a regional sponsor in the Northeast. Somebody for $25,000, $30,000, $35,000. And it's got to be somebody not Joe's Cafeteria, but it's got to be somebody that has coverage in the Northeast. For instance, like an Advanced Auto Parts, where they have 100 locations. And what we do is we say to them, give us $30,000. And what we're going to do is we're going to put up their posters in every one of their places. We're going to put up POP materials that is going to promote them as a company, SCCA, and NARRC, because here's the problem. We're going to have 4 events here, 3 regionals and a national. And we take 100% of the money, put it into advertising. Now all of a sudden we have 100 outposts out there promoting regional racing. And their customers who know nothing about SCCA will go into those places and see this form of racing or be exposed to it somehow. And we tell NARRC, we tell them this is the way it's going to be. We're going to charge $12 at the gate. And at those stores, we're going to give out, $4 off coupons. And hopefully, we can get maybe 2,000 people next year to come to an event, a regional or a national, okay? So now, all of a sudden, the gate at NARRC $16,000. We split it with them. We get $8,000. What do they do with their money? For one, I don't care what they do with their money. We take our money and lower our entry fees to our racers, for one. 2, if more people are on the hill, and that can grow to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,000 people in 2 or 3 years, you guys as racers could go out and get some sponsors and maybe get $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a year because you really have exposure. Then all of a sudden, your costs come down, the region's costs come down, and maybe with the exposure, and this is the long-term thing, with the exposure from those 100 outlets, maybe we'll get more workers. Maybe we'll get more racers because the growth in this sport, in this industry, isn't in road racing, wrenching the car like we used to do till 2, 3 in the morning, but it's in buying a Subaru or buying an Evo 8 going on a track. Those guys are getting 2 hours time, doing that thing. And they're spending $30,000, $40,000 a year on a car or whatever. But that's what the growth is. We're not going to have growth in SCCA in road racing unless we have more exposure. There's guys out there that can do it. The money's out there. But it's just an idea. Get a regional sponsor, put the money back in, so they gain from the exposure they get. We can gain, from the, as a region and at NARRC and hopefully from the racer. It's a slow growth thing, but 2, 3, 4, 5 years it can work.
Well, you gotta understand one thing. Their target audience versus what our target audience is, who we can make happy. If their target audience is a 19-year-old kid with an Evo Lancer, a WRX, and they come to, hey, this is great, I'm going to see what road racing is about, I don't know a thing about it. If they come here and they go, what? This is what, I'm going to stick with, drifting, I'm going to stick with this, because these guys are antiquated.
Well,
and it's an antiquated notion.
Rob has got a point, and Bob, you also have a great idea. But unfortunately, there's too many. It goes back to. Everything's a spectator event. So we have to pay the spectator insurance.
I just want to know, this is about what is it that you don't like about NARRC this year? Just not the track. We've been knowing all about the track, and that's really something else. But NARRC itself, what is it people don't like?
Possibly one car. Possibly 2 cars. Not enough tracks.
Yeah, not enough tracks.
Not enough tracks.
Anybody else?
Too many races?
Too many races?
One thing that I didn't care for this year, and Andy touched on it briefly, was the fact that we're penalized if we happen to miss one particular region's event. And that happens. Allow me to elaborate.
That's the biggest complaint from the IT.
That happened on
mandatory events in order to compete equally on a point structure.
Please finish. And I think everybody agrees with you too.
Well, I just want to voice my opinion.
Yeah, I do, and I want to hear it.
I didn't know what you were talking about. And I think, and I mentioned at the end, I mentioned it to Darrell and my son as well, the circumstances occur, you could be in contention, you could be tied for points, you could be running away with the points or whatever, but you have a death in the family, you want a business trip, you wind up in the hospital with surgery, your car is broken, you miss that one particular event, you're out of the running. So what is the motivation for a person in that situation to continue to run for the rest of the season?
Good point.
And that's it.
And I think
that may be where Andy was going to. We're penalized.
Well, the bonus thing, as I explained at the outset, was primarily so we could kind of make it more expansive.
You're advocating the best of? that one race?
Well,
Is that what
I
you're
think,
best of, or is
when we
that
talk
one
about
race?
all the different
Well, the
tracks
bonuses
where
for the
we
track
can run
bonuses,
at,
but-
I think you should be awarded for your effort in participating and supporting every track at every race you go to. And you can get whatever points you acquire.
And just give people more than one opportunity at the bonus.
Right.
So one shot a deal.
You know, if there's only one day to penalize, don't put a 20-point bonus on
It's
Pocono.
it's a hard thing.
There's
You're right.
there's 24 points available
We really
in
want
this
to
year's
do
series. 12 bonus at Pocono or the third track, but that's the only place you can get the third track.
That's the only.
I'm not going to New Hampshire, that's my third track.
Well, you got 5 opportunities to go there.
That, you have 5 versus
5 opportunities, not one on Mother's Day.
No.
That's tough.
And at the runoffs, you're not entitled to double points or bonus points.
Right. And that's 12 if you win.
No, that's not
24
good.
points.
That's not right.
So you like it the old way?
Yes.
The original way?
Yes.
Okay.
It worked. It was fine.
There was nothing wrong, right, okay.
It worked.
Okay,
It was
I will
fine.
tell you this, in November, I will put a motion on the table for the committee that we do away with that system. I'll do that.
But
That's for
understand.
Crystal seconded.
Well, well, maybe we should count. Somebody suggested on, and I printed this whole thing out. This whole, you know, that we count all the races. Whatever points you get, you get.
Right, that's what I said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all the races count.
And,
14
you know,
races is
every track you go to, you go home.
So
with
if you
whatever
can go
do.
to every race, you're going to get points,
Right.
and you should be the champion.
And, well,
And you're
whatever.
okay with that?
I am, because I'm
Andy?
supporting every reason.
Most
I'm
certainly not
doing
okay
that.
with that because that's the exact same thing as giving bonus points because if you don't go to all 14 races, then you're in big trouble.
Well,
So
not
if
everybody's
you-
going to go to all 14.
Yeah, but the guy
Somebody
who
will,
does, it's a
Rob.
participation award. So best 10 of 14, best,
Yeah.
you know,
Exactly.
make it more, but not everything.
Yeah, it can't be everything. We have other lives to live.
That's all.
Unless you don't love racing, that's why we're here.
Pro series.
No, I
There's 14 too many races.
Well, I mean,
let's
You got to add value to the race.
Rob?
Thank you. Seriously, what we're talking about here is a champion. I mean, again, I'm skewed because of my peak, and like Andy, this is all we've got.
Right.
But you're talking about a champion. If you've got 70 cars that have entered into a NARRC event through the course of the season in IPA, only one of those guys is going to be champion. Who should that be? That should be the guy with the best program. That should be the guy who's most dedicated, the guy who's most consistent, has the most number of starts, the most number of finishes. I'm sorry, it shouldn't be the guy who is very judicious about the 8 tracks he picks and shows up and picks 5. You know, Andy, in my opinion, has done a fantastic job this year, and I really applaud him for his efforts. He stuck to the program. But if Greg Amy had been our defending champ, had been a little more judicious about what he elected to go to, you know, Andy's consistency, Andy's effort, Andy's cash allotment, Andy's, pull from his family, and all the other things he's got going on are, you know, sort of diluted. And I personally don't think that's fair. We're talking about one champ. Not all of us are going to fit that bill.
So we have our point system is sort of progressive. It's not. Help me, engineer.
It's not exponential. It's linear.
Right, it's linear. It's not exponential. Should it be? I mean, should we give a lot more points for winning?
Hey, you know what? I haven't missed an event this year. I've been to every NARRC event.
Give more points for winning.
Yeah, you're damn right I want more because I'm supporting this region more than a lot of other guys who are stealing points.
No, but I'm saying, like, let's just say, Crazy Joe won a bunch of races recently. And, you know, he's not here this weekend, I guess.
He's in Middle Ohio.
Yeah.
But you know, like, should he get like double the amount of points to the guy that finished the second? I mean, should we do something like that? And I'm not suggesting the NARRC committee is going to do this. I think we would appoint a drivers committee and let the drivers design a point system if you want to do something like that.
My thoughts are for IT is that we need more than 9 pointed positions.
Okay.
Because our class, I mean, we show up with 25 guys. Now, listen, I'll never be a points champ. That's not my focus. I'm here to race and have fun. But I finished 10th on a consistent effort. I've been here every single time. I finished 10th. I get 1 start point, nothing else for showing up. I, again, haven't missed a race yet.
Okay.
That event is worth
and
1
it
point.
plays, you're right.
Keep
Because
pointing
if
them down. Give us a
we
shot.
gave points and we made it a little bit more exponential, and maybe and then linear down the road, so everybody gets some points, you mean like NASCAR or whatever. Then everybody gets points. Might that encourage people to show up?
Mars pays out its 50th place.
Yeah.
If he hits the place,
Take points out.
Mark.
I like the heard if you give everybody points.
Well, that might be, then the point structure needs to be looked at.
And I think it goes backwards to what Rob was saying in terms of the champion. If the champion go to all the events,
Yeah.
I think when you have more people who have a shot at a championship, you get more interest.
Oh, yeah.
But if you do 14, your best 14 out of 14, you're halfway through the season and you miss 4 events, you look at it and you go, forget it. I'm not in it.
Well, I don't think
I
we've suggested
agree.
that.
I'm
I
not
think they're
actually-
saying maybe we should do 10 out of 14 or...
10 out of 14.
I like 10 out of 14.
Yeah.
I was saying
10 shows
10, I was saying
commitment.
10 out of 13.
10 shows commitment.
Okay, well, we're going to have the drivers committee decide that, not the NARRC committee. Kathy?
What about double points? Do any events have double points?
I
As
like
long
the
as
NARRC
there's multiple
runoffs.
opportunities to get it.
Yeah, as long as it's not just poker.
Well,
Or the
what
NARRC.
That was
about,
double event.
what about the last event of the year, having double points?
But then you're in the boat easy, and what happens if you miss, if you're sick or you have a...
No, but it's just
Wedding
awarded
or-
though. That's the championship event. If you miss the champion, I think you should have to be at the NARRC runoffs in order to win a championship.
I
I
don't
agree.
I think you
disagree
should have
with
to
you.
start.
I agree. Not take your car out of the trailer and then put it back in.
So you're
like
saying
happened last
same points, but you got to at least start the race.
Make it like a model.
But what happens if you have a family emergency or something happens? All of a sudden you're
Yeah,
in the championship?
And
It's
it's a
not fair.
spoiler race too. If you have a bad race, you could drop from 3rd to 5th in the championship
It's
off
like the
of one
national
race.
runoffs. Oh, yeah.
It's like
So why not make the
But
last
that's-
2 races count? One, we do last one at
Yeah.
second to last at New Hampshire last year. Because personally, I don't like running here.
Well, how about doing your? How about this? How about doubling? You can pick one to double.
Well, everybody's going to pick their win.
Yeah, but
Always
if
the
you're
win,
not
though,
going
you
to
know,
finish 10th, what are you going to double? What if you finish only third?
How about if you pick an entry form before you put the car on the track?
You got to pick it first.
I'm just
That's
trying
right.
to...
You know what? That's a good idea.
Put
That's
on
a
your
very
entry
good
form,
idea.
which one you know,
Counts as my double.
single or double, and you check off the
That's a
double.
pretty good
Like
idea.
that. So if you like running in
That's
my
a
rock,
lot.
you pick
I
a
like
line.
it.
Hey guys, come on.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah, you pick your own double.
Chris,
Just put it on every entry form and you just check it off.
What's wrong with that?
what Chris
I'm gonna
Chris
go up
wants
to New Hampshire, and I'm gonna enter late. I see Andy crashed the gate.
No, before
he
you
got
sit
there.
there, you enter the race,
Your
Jack.
transmission.
No, what I'm saying is he
Before
said
I-
I crashed, and I was going to pick the double. the next
I know Andy's not running. I'm gonna pick that.
So what?
Strategy.
Strategy.
All right.
Andy will fake a crash.
Okay, hold on. One at a time. Come over here.
If you have a group that has a lot of entries, you base the points that are awarded based on some multiplier based on entries. That if you had a well-entered event, it would be worth a lot of points for the guy who won it.
The points for every car in your class should be.
He would beat a lot of people in his class.
Indexing, like.
So if you're the point guy, it's going to be hard for the person who keeps track of the points.
Yeah, I
Because that's a lot of work. But if you made it in factors of say 10, so once you hit a certain threshold of entries, it became something that people would take notice of. I'm sure people who are tallying the points are interested in SCCA. That's why they do it, and they would be interested in seeing classes that are growing in participation.
I think that's great.
So if what people want is more points for well-entered classes, and if you made some sort of threshold on points, you get double points. Forget all that. If you come down to a race and there's 30 cars in your group and you beat them all, it's going to be worth a lot of points. Forget double points. It's worth a lot of points.
Okay.
Well,
I think Andy, you mentioned that too, or in your group.
Yeah, just two things. That's the way NISRIC does it, right?
Right,
You get X amount of points for the win, and then a point for everybody you beat.
Right.
And where's this?
I think
Yes, sir.
There was a New Jersey Road Racing Championship did it as well.
I think that's
New York
that's a
did
good
Well,
idea.
we can adopt that system if that's what the drivers want.
Here's the second thing, and Jay and I have talked about this over the course of this year. The reason why I like double points at the runoff event is because I want to make the NARRC runoff event a prestigious single event that draws a ton of cars from all over the place. Maybe guys from out of region, maybe guys, if let's say the NARRC runoff is at Watkins Glen, right?
Yeah.
And I think it should move around, but
I agree.
let's say it's at Watkins Glen. I think you could, if you did it right, and you gave double points, or although it's not going to pull from out of state with double. If you did it with double points and you had big turnouts, you could get an event sponsor that could cut entry fees
For that
and
particular race.
local businesses.